Hi, my name is Mamuzo Nwokokoro. I am a strategic communicator, a television host, event host, and an engagement specialist. As a little girl, I was highly curious and inquisitive, and my mom would often say, "Why don't you do something with your curiosity?" And so I would pick up a book and start to read it and start to ask questions and start to role play with myself. And so often I would be the one questioning or interviewing myself and at the same time playing the interviewee. So it was beautiful to see me grow from just having those personal engagements to now to start writing poems, stories. And I thought that, well, I would become a writer. But as I grew older, I went from primary to secondary school, and that's what it's called, by the way, in Nigeria, where I'm from. I discovered that there was more to me than just writing. I wanted a field or career that helps me explore all of my potentials. I could sing, I could write, I could speak. And I was still confused at that time, but I had an aunt who was already a practicing journalist. She worked with the Guardian newspapers then, and she said to me, "I think that you have a calling," and those were her very words. "I think you do have a calling in media." And I think that was the first time I actually thought about it. I was like, oh, really? I could do media? And then I did some research. It piqued my interest, and I started to build skill sets around it. I went for training. I also had to do a lot of voiceovers. Oh, yes, that's true. Back then, I did lots of voiceovers for brands like Fanta, Coca-Cola, etc. These are Nigerian brands, by the way. I mean, of course, Coca-Cola is known, but it was for the Nigerian brands. And a couple of other A-list organizations in Nigeria. For me, it was just about putting my creative mind to use. All the thoughts I had in my heart, all the questions I couldn't really share with anyone. It was my go-to, my secret place to express myself, to quiz myself, to understand myself. And so writing was for me not just an escapist mechanism, it was the way I communicated with myself and the world around me. Well, media is quite demanding. It was even more demanding way then than now, thanks to technological advancements and innovative tools that now we can leverage to make our work far easier. Back then, you had to wake up early in the morning, go into the office, have your team meeting, and then you go scouting for news. Sometimes it could take the whole day because you want to get a very good story, and you're always on your toes. So that's something I didn't quite like, but I enjoyed. The other thing is the explorative aspect of media. You don't cover stories because they suit you, because you believe in them, because they align with your values. You really write stories because you want to be able to inform, educate, and sometimes challenge societal views. And so I wouldn't call that a challenge. For me, it's something I enjoyed doing. Not all the time, though, but something I really found to be sometimes demanding, because then you have to go out of your comfort zone to get good quality stories. Of course, media can be so rewarding. There's the glamorous part of it where you become a little famous, you're known within your community. You also have the opportunity to build a bigger network than you would have if you were not in the media. And so in turn, that sort of rubs off on you. And people will look up to you as someone who has a bit of knowledge and influence. There are a number of experiences and memories that I've had in my career path, but one I really hold dear is when I had a chance, a one-on-one opportunity to interview the late Dr. Miles Monroe. That was huge for me because just sitting with him, I think it was 3 years before he passed, was for me fulfillment of my dream. I've always aspired to interview, have deep conversations with global leaders, and having to have that audience with him was great for me. And of course, you cannot be with Dr. Miles Monroe and not get some stirring in your spirit. Like he speaks to you and challenges you to be better than who you were. He always, I mean. That media continues to evolve, of course, with AI and all the other technological resources that we now have. It seems like media is now in the hand of everybody. Anybody has access to a camera, anyone can share a story. And it's beautiful because now everybody has become a storyteller. But then what I find a little disheartening is that democratic journalism is slowly dying, because what we often see on social media are often feel-good stories, if what I would call gossips. But very few people take the time to really dig up stories that make deep life-changing impact, and stories that hold the government accountable, stories that challenge authorities to be responsible, stories that speak to society in a way that it is responsible over itself and its people. So that's something that I find it's really not anymore as celebrated as we used to have it back then. More so, we see that government, since in some climes, government seem to have authority over what goes out there. And so there is the censorship of what goes out there, and people somewhat lose their rights to express or tell their stories. The whole factors around all of these things, but what I would love to see through the power of media is that stories are told from a place of genuinity and stories are told to connect people together. I tell you one thing, I'm a family-centric person. I love family, so I'm often playing games with my two sons. If I'm not doing that, then I am singing because I like songs, even though I haven't officially launched an album yet. If I'm not singing, then I'm writing something because I love to write. And I'm actually working on some documentaries. Hopefully they'll be released this year or early next year. So that's how I pass time. Oh! Let's see, what song do I sing? If there's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love, and the place could be much brighter than tomorrow. That's all. That's MJ's Heal the World, and that's a song that I personally love because it holds such a powerful message and is always timely to say to someone, to everyone, it is our shared responsibility to heal our world with the stories you're sharing, with how you're sharing your stories. Use your power of imagination, use your power of creation, use your creative prowess to tell your stories, to change and in fact heal the world. One thing you should understand as a budding journalist or an aspiring media professional is you do have the authority in your palms. You do have the authority to tell your stories however you choose. But the question is, how have you chosen to tell your story? And what is the why behind your story? For me, I believe in the power of connecting people to their purpose to make impact. And that's what drives my communication, whether I'm writing, whether I'm speaking, or even interviewing people. I often want to look beyond just the experience that they have to their personalities and perspectives so that I can create a wholesome story and experience with those who are listening. Because at the end of the day, we are all stewards of the stories that we hold. And if we don't share them and share them to make impact, then we've only wasted an opportunity. Welcome to Your Connoisseur today. I'm your host, Mamuzo Nwokokoro, bringing you the latest updates and news around your campus. Now, what's buzzing? Stay tuned for more.